Welcome back. This is the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How are you, Steve?
Doing well, Tim. How are you?
Not too bad. It's sunny out today.
It's beautiful. We probably should be outside pretending to be farmers.
Yeah, we pretend.
We try.
Speaking of farmers, so I got a message last night from Ben. No, not Ben. Sam Nelson. Gee, I'm blanking out already. Ben's his dad. I'm on zoning board. They own Beaver Pond Farm, but Sam works at the school in the ag department, and I've always hear from kids like they really like him. He's a great teacher, and I was just telling him, I was like, oh, you should come on the show at some point, and because he was saying, hey, the show is good. You listen to the one with Jeff Miller, and I was like, well, you've been farming your whole life, and your dad's been farming, and I think your grandparents have been farming, and he's like, well, I'm not a professional. I'm like, you're so much more of a professional than us. I was like, you need to come on here and teach us some things that we don't know because we're just winging it here. So
We are definitely winging it, but it's
Winging
looking good so far.
yes, the garden looks better probably than the show, but we're making an effort. So
Making an effort. We should probably update everybody on the garden process and where we're at. I do have some recording of it, so I think I'm going to put that together this weekend. Throw it out there, let everybody watch you drive around in circles.
I know it's so funny that Steve's like, people will watch this, and I'm like, I've spent almost 17 years like running excavators and tractors and whatever, and I'm just like, I don't think like my 2-year-old, she would watch it, but I'm like, I don't think people watch this, but you like have a whole different viewer kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, I
And you're
watch
like,
it all the time.
yeah, you're like, oh, people watch this, and I'm like, what?
That's why when you taught me to work the mini excavator last year, I felt so cool because I watched Let's Dig 18 on YouTube, and he just drives around in his big excavator with his camera set up, and he just talks to you, and then he goes quiet for a while as he's flicking logs, pushing logs. He'll dredge ponds, and it's so relaxing to watch, and you learn too to see that big equipment moving as if it's an extension of the human body is really cool, and it's relaxing and soothing at night as you go to sleep.
So for all these years I've been doing this, I actually could have had another opportunity to make money selling these videos or putting them on YouTube or whatever than soothing you to sleep.
Yes, the worst part is whenever, because he is a big enough show to get advertisers. So the worst part's whenever the ads come up and it interrupts the sound of the excavator moving and working. If he's going in reverse, you get the nice beeps, just like I got out there on the field with you the other day. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try to put it together and probably end up getting more views on that than this show.
We're up to like 10.
We're getting there.
No, we want to thank everybody. We've gotten
We have greatly appreciated.
we are we've gotten a lot of views. The first show was like 302 or 3, and then the last few shows it's gotten up almost to 100. So we're gonna starting next week. We're gonna try to get the show on about 10 o'clock in the morning. Gives more people an opportunity because lately it's been at like 11 o'clock at night because of upload issues and whatnot. But we're gonna try to get.
We
it
are
to,
in the boonies, and even though I
We
did
are.
recently get Starlink, I do have some trees that provide. It says it's 0.19% blocked, and they're expecting interruptions every 3 minutes right now. And when I first turned it on, it was every 9 to 12 minutes. But the weather we had the last few days with the rain, it might have been sweeping the tops of the trees. So we should have a quicker upload speed, and if we just learn to work our equipment better. You with your Mac, I am not a Mac guy. I am a Windows guy.
Yeah, I use Mac just because it's like the best. Mac is what's really good for editing, and that's what I'm used to. So, of course, Mac computers are more expensive than PC, and so it's like, do I relearn on something else? Because then I could buy a less expensive computer that's actually better, or
All
don't
I know is it took me 10 minutes to drag a file to a external hard drive last night on your Mac to try to get it inside to my computer to upload. And that was frustrating enough for me to where, I don't know, it just frustrated me. 10 minutes to try to slightly, because it doesn't have the double click, it doesn't have a left and right with a mouse. I need what I know, and I just don't know Mac.
So on this show, I'm the technical guy, and you're the information
Exactly.
information person.
The researcher.
All right, so we don't have any special guest today, which is disappointing because now everyone has to look at our ugly faces. But
You got a good haircut, though.
thanks. Went down to Lisa Harris at Guile Cuts. I go there every 3 weeks, and usually I get it a little long. So Andrea hasn't seen it yet, so I'll probably get heck when I get home because she doesn't like my hair everything really, really short. And I'm like, yeah, but it grows so fast that I'm like, Lisa's like, are you sure? because Andrea's told me like don't cut your hair too short. So I like it though. So and perfect segue, 5K this weekend. This might help Airstreaming a little better.
It might.
You ordered the tutus yesterday.
I did.
You're not impressed, but it is what it is. So yesterday, my brother Ed, so Beard Sewer and Drain, he'd donate $50,
Nice.
and then Ed Gregory, who owns Hometown Appliance and Crazy Eds, which is now Kellyville Power Sports, and he sells sheds and all that over on John Stack Highway. I conned him out of $50 too. It's kind of funny because I don't necessarily ask these people, so let me just give you the rundown on when I messaged Corey. This is how I ask people to do things. And I just got to find him. Sorry, I should have been prepared for this. So I said, "You going to donate to me, Steve, 5K, $50? I'll mention you on the show." And he just says, "Yeah."
Nice.
Pretty soon, these people will not be taking my phone calls because they'll be like, "What do you want now?" So yeah, Chief was here yesterday.
Good conversation with Chief Wilmot.
It was. I'm a little nervous now though because for all these years, I always thought the 5K turned around at the cemetery and went back, and then between him and PJ, like, oh no, it goes down the hill. Then you turn, you go out Greenwood Road to the bridge that's there, but you can't go over it anymore. Turn around, so we have to go back up the hill. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, I didn't know any of this." And yeah, so now all the pressure's on us. So if we can't beat the Chiefs' time, we'll be matching the donations, and if we can, he was going to match them. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith, but I'm going to try.
I think we can do it.
Maybe
Maybe. If we set up some obstacles out there, maybe we can do it.
for him or for us.
For him, now, I don't think we'll be able to sneak off. And is there a way to cut through the trail and cut off some distance?
No, but maybe I could like bring the 4-wheeler down or something.
Sneak it off into the woods and hide it?
I don't-
Stage it?
We'll find out because if we'll be curious if the Chief watches the show, and if he doesn't, we'll know because
Take-
he'll be like, "Wait a
We'll
minute,
have
you guys
some of
gonna
his
use a
buddies from
4-wheeler?"
Northwood, since he is on the show, which we forgot to ask him.
I
to
know.
follow
We forgot
on
which
for that.
one.
We'll have to. I bet my mom knows. She watches that show.
I watch. My daughter loves it. Lydia watches the show all the time. I like the show too, but she's constantly watching those shows, and
That's interesting.
it is.
It's very interesting. My cousin, the game wardens where we live down in Texas, where I grew up in Texas, they know my cousins very well because my cousin was hunting and it was not enough land approved for hunting. It was on his own property. And the game warden came up, took his deer away from him.
Oops.
Yep, made a mistake. So make sure you know your hunting laws.
Yes, turkey season right now. I think you can shoot between 5:30 and noon. That ends at noon. Yeah, I haven't been out yet. Amelia's been on me about it, but I'm like, listen, this show is crazy as it is, and the lack of effort it looks like it takes, it actually takes a lot
It
more
does
work.
take a lot of
This
work.
is taking a lot more work than we expected, but it's all good. It's
And you did hear a turkey the other morning, and you looked for your shotgun, and it wasn't there.
oh yeah. I was at the land feeding the animals. I can hear a turkey gobble, and I'm like, my 12 gauge is in the truck, so I can just go and walk out back and find the turkey and get a turkey, right? I look in the back and nope. Emilio brought it in the bedroom, his bedroom, because he was going to go out in the morning and it never got back in there. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." I'm like, "Yep,
Probably the only one you hear for the rest of this season.
probably, probably." So it goes to the end of the month, May 31st, and so if we don't get turkey this year, then he's going to have to dress up in a turkey costume. We're going to paintball him. And we could tape that. Oh, that'd be a good segment.
It would be.
So yeah, the 5K Saturday, we're up to $205 in donations,
That's awesome.
and it's all going for the kids that are struggling to eat as they should and not knowing where their next meal is and stuff. So we're gonna give it to the school for that program they got going on, which is a great cause. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I know the weather's supposed to be good, and I think it's gonna be fun no matter what.
I think it's going to be
So,
fun no matter what. Just the community that we have here.
Yeah.
We'll have fun.
Yeah, that's what matters. So I got the name of the teacher I couldn't remember yesterday. So Miss Collison, and I don't know a lot about her, but I could just tell the way Riley, Anna, and Alicia at the Honors Bank were talking about her and talking to her that she's an awesome teacher. And then Andrea had obviously said like she'd had her in school and she was a great teacher. So I wanted to get that name out there and give that shout out.
Well, I was sitting there last night about 6 o'clock, and I texted you, Mrs. Colson, and you were like, "Yep."
Yep.
And because we knew her name, it's stressful knowing that the camera's watching us, and whenever you come up with something off the cuff and you don't have it prepared, so I want to apologize, Mrs. Colson. Zeta talks about you as well. Know your name, you're top notch, and Mrs. Scott helped her set that up as well. So I want to
Yes.
shout out to Mrs. Colson and Mrs. Scott for the Honor Society programs they put on for the kids.
Yeah, it was awesome. And another right in the school shout out to Mr. Spanos, who is Newport's Citizen of the Year.
Awesome.
I know Jeff Miller had mentioned that, and then I just wanted to make sure we mention it again because today they went into the school and I think presented the plaque to him and stuff. And I know him a little bit. He wasn't in school when I was in school, but he used to be in a band. I don't know if it was Bumpin' Uglies or one of the bands around here, and he plays bass, and that's why I like remember him from way back. And then I know the kids always talk about him in school, so he's another one of those like I know he's a good teacher because it's always positive feedback I hear from the kids about him, and the fact that he's Citizen of the Year, I think that's absolutely awesome. We have some great teachers in our school that we need to retain, and just big shout out to our teachers here.
Zeta has him for economics right now, and I think Alicia does too.
Yep.
And he's giving them some tough assignments, so I like to see some of the research that Zeta's been doing. It's good to see her doing some homework again.
It sounds like he's always challenging them. Like he might believe a certain thing, but he like challenges them to, hey, go look into this, go do this, and that's great. And I love when teachers do that. Let's push these kids to get the best out of them. And so shout out to Mr. Spano, Citizen of the Year. Congratulations. Thank you for all you do for our town and our school.
Yes, thank you.
So the other thing coming up on Monday, the 9th, is Car Nuts Car Show. It's behind the Sugar River Bank. They've done this for years, but then they kind of like faded away a little bit. And then I think they've got every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that, they're doing another car show this year. And I think we should go down and check that out on Monday night and walk
take the
around.
camera down there.
Yeah,
get
take
some
the camera.
footage.
Yeah, take some footage. Maybe talk to some people. I'm sure Shannon McMichael will be down there from the chamber. I've been trying to get her on the show, but it's trying to get schedules to line up. She's super busy too. But so I think we'll go down and check that out. And it's a really fun thing. And then on June 25th is the Wings and Wheels event at the Parlin Field, which went to that last year. That was awesome. So I've always been fascinated with planes since I was a little kid. I love airplanes. And so this is a combination of a fly-in plus a car show. They've got like other events, like stuff going on. They got food there. It's just going to be a great time.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And we're definitely going to get Shannon on at some point to really talk about that and some other chamber events. The only other local thing really for today to talk about was, what was it, Saturday?
Blackbeard's?
Yes, Blackbeard's, what was it? Blackbeard's Cove Mini Golf, which is over in the building that Timeout's in Claremont on Mulberry Street. It's brought to you by like the escape room, and we did the escape room with Devin.
Just missed out. We had, I don't know. We
were really
one more
close.
thing.
Yeah, we were really close. So there's an escape room over there. I've done it twice now with my son because he was big into it. And you have an hour to get out of the room. There's all these clues. It's really, really fun. So we went over and checked out the mini golf, and it's blacklight mini golf. So
nice.
it's so awesome. I think it was $12 a person for cash or $13 for a card, whatever. You go through. It's 18 holes. It was awesome. It was awesome. Everyone talks about there's nothing to do around here, and so we need to really support places like this that it's something different. And there's so much room in that building. I can only imagine what Nick's going to do as time goes down the road. What else can be put in there? But check it out. It was
nice restaurant as well.
Yeah, we've eaten there. The food's good. Like they were struggling with staff. We ended up having to go up and order at the bar, but I'm like, that's fine. That's cool. We understand.
Yeah,
so. We ate first. We went in and did the mini golf thing. Great time. Like I said, it's inexpensive. $12 a person. You can go out, have a good time, and it's safe, clean, fun.
So how'd you shoot? How'd you do on the course?
I won actually.
Did you have any hole-in-ones?
I had one hole-in-one, and then a couple holes later, Andrew got a hole-in-one.
Oh, nice.
Which kind of took away that. I was like, all right, maybe it wasn't as impressive, right? No, she did good with that, but Adriano was the last person, and then it was Andrew was like 3 shots less than his, and mine was 54, I think it was, which is exactly what they said it should be, which is just very ironic. And then Alicia was only a few more than me. Alicia
So
was
you
actually
shot
pretty good.
par.
I shot par. Yeah,
Nice.
good. It was so much fun, and we go over there, and a couple times, either Alicia or Joanna would hit it, and I'm like, it's supposed to stay in the course, it's off on the other course. I'm like, sorry about that, folks. But it's so fun, and like wear colors that look good under a black light. Like my new sneakers with the orange, like look really cool. It was so much fun. Like I'll definitely, we're gonna do it again. We have to bring you and Nikki out to do it, because it doesn't matter how many times you do mini golf. It's just it's fun.
Competitiveness runs in my family, so we'll have to compete somehow.
This is going to be another Beard Morris challenge.
I think so. You have a chance. So I've played intramurals at Fort Leonard Wood, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, however long ago it was. And part of the Commander's Cup, because there was a mini golf course on the installation, so they wanted to kind of advertise for it. So they added an 18-hole mini golf to the Commander's Cup, something that we should have won because we were first or second place, I think, for golf. So we're pretty good golfers. And old Steve-O here choked. There was a hole where it just fell off. You had like a thin, narrow strip to putt it down. And everybody was watching me, and the pressure got to me, and I basically lost it for us. And my commander did not let me live that down. I was the XO, and the commander, he razzed me pretty hard for that because usually I'm a pretty good golfer. At least back then I used to be.
So far,
but not at mini golf on that day. So if they have a hole that has a drop off on all three sides, if it's like on a peninsula, you probably beat me.
So far, not that I keep track, but Zeta got homecoming queen, and then you beat me on the school board. Yesterday,
barely. I mean, you could have called for a recount.
You still won though.
Thank you.
And and then the chief sitting there and talking about West Point and college.
He tried to highlight you. He wanted to show that you were a hometown young man that graduated and had made success for yourself because you bought the business, then you sold the business. I only know about the sewer and drain and the marketplace. There's probably other things that, and as a side note, Chief turned it around just as a cop would do or an officer would do, and started interrogating us. Basically, we were supposed to be asking him questions. The next thing you know, I'm talking. I said, "Chief, he's gonna write me out of the show. Move Chief Wilmot up here with you."
No, it's funny. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I can run that tractor down there, put that garden in. Yeah.
No,
no, I know.
You have success like without going to college. You didn't go to college.
I know. I didn't quite pick up on that in time. He was totally setting it up like, hey, Tim, let's talk about you're a Newport graduate. I didn't go to college or didn't finish college. I went for like a month and yeah, this isn't for me. I started from nothing, worked really, really hard. And I consider myself a success story from Newport High School.
Hometown success. And I think that's what Chief was trying to highlight.
Set me up for.
He was setting up that I'm a relatively new resident, lived here just under 4 years. And I think he was saying, we're glad to have you here. You're fortunate to have this beautiful property, a nice kid. And Tim, now this is what got you there was my hard work in high school, which is what I said also when I was running for school board is you just got to work hard. If you let somebody know if they want to take the college path, and because for me, it was a scholarship. So I had to work really hard to set myself apart. And now, like we mentioned, we have the CTE program for those that are more technically inclined that don't want to go to college because college does cost money, and it's not cost affordable.
So let's talk about something we weren't even planning on talking about. But so there's been talk lately, especially lately, about student debt and basically the government wiping out student debt, which isn't true because you don't wipe out student debt. You just transfer it to us taxpayers. And we talked before that you spend an extra 4 years in the military to obtain an education for your daughter, an opportunity for your daughter to go to college that'll be mostly paid for. So what do you feel about the idea that they might just wipe out the student debt when you especially are very invested in 4 years of your life to provide that for your daughter. Now it's like, we might just wipe it out, even though she won't benefit from wiping it out. My daughter won't benefit. Son won't benefit from it.
So my take on it is this: if you're going to go to college, you should have done the research. You know what you're getting into. If you studied a program that doesn't pay well enough for you to pay back the large amounts of loans that you took out, it's kind of on you. Like, you know that if you're going to study something that's not, you either got to set yourself apart to make the kind of money to pay back those loans, because it's expensive to go to college. And we were talking about it with Zeta right before we came in here, that New Hampshire is one of the highest places for in-state residencies for a student who is an in-state resident to go to school. So you get a break compared to out-of-state residents, but it's almost going to cost you the same to go to Massachusetts or Vermont as an out-of-state resident.
Seems like New Hampshire just doesn't give a crap about education on state level.
Nah,
On a state level.
I don't know if it's on. I know they're not upholding their end of the bargain. What is it? They say $4,000 a month.
They say $4,700 a year to send your kid to school.
Apologize.
To elementary school or high school. But for us in Newport, with a new budget, it's almost $20,000 a kid, and I think on top of that's the contribute of like the $4,700 for each kid from the state as well. So it's actually it's probably more like $25,000. Yeah, so that's what they say that's an adequate education, and then we get me, you, and the rest of the taxpayers in this town, every town.
So I don't know how they say that's an adequate education, because even if you go to private school on the
Correct.
lower end, like if you go
Yes.
where it's what minimum probably $7,000.
Yeah, I think the Montessori was around $8,500, $8,800, something like that a year to send one, to a child there. So it's still less than half what Newport is, but the advantage of the private schools is the special ed. Some of them busing, they don't have. Monroe does have busing though, but I think the special ed thing is a big thing, and the problem with that is it's not always just why is special ed so expensive. Well, most of the time because the federal and the state government straps them and says, no, you have to do this, 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 and this,
Right,
and it
it's
costs a fortune.
regulatory.
Exactly, and it's not
And then they don't give us the money to accommodate that.
correct. So they make the law and then say you figure it out.
So going back to, again, for college, if you're going to go to college, make sure that you study something that is going to provide you with a steady paycheck so you can repay your debts that you acquired knowingly. So Nikki's still paying off her school loans. So she has undergraduate that we're still paying off and graduate school that we're paying off for Nikki. And we're not asking the government to pay her loans off. And
No, it's like for me, it's like,
that's a large portion of her paycheck goes back to
Right.
pay her student loans.
and I've made bad decisions as a business owner, bought stuff, and then said, oh man, like why'd I do this? No one was ever there to bail me out. So it's like for me, I'm against it. I mean,
And
I
it's
know.
not really a bailout. I think you hit the nail
It's a
on the
bailout
head.
for the one individual, or a
Right,
few
but then
individuals.
it comes back to all the
Exactly.
taxpayers.
So we don't, it's like our taxes aren't enough, and we don't give enough to everywhere else in the world. They want to spend some more of our money and make us pay for it. So
Yeah, well, I think President Biden promised that he was going to do that, and they've done it for some, but not for all. So I think I saw
there's a
couple
loophole.
months ago
You have to be
that
like a
there-
government employee. Yeah.
Now, there's things where Nikki could repay her loans by signing up because we're like an underserved area, but it's not easy from my understanding from listening to her and from trying to help her fill it out is because we moved around quite a bit during the first 7 years after her undergraduate. And then living here, then you got to stay in the same job for a certain amount of time and you got to stay in the same area. So it kind of commits you. So it's not really that easy. So there are programs out there to help you, especially like for her profession as a nurse practitioner, serving an underprivileged area or an underserved area, working in an underserved area. And we're in a rural area. I don't know, but no, the government should not be bailing everybody out because they always say underwater basket weaving, like that.
The
you
government
spent 4 or 5 years of borrowing money to major in that. You should choose a better major.
The government is not your baby daddy.
The government's not there. The government is to provide for the common defense and to promote tranquility across the states. And really, our state should be providing most of our governance for us, whereas the federal government. But that's a totally different topic for another time. I'll ramble on about that forever.
Speaking about Nikki, she's looking at maybe starting a little practice in town.
I'm trying to get her to the entrepreneurial way is the way to go. So I'm trying to put pressure on her to open up
Cash
a
clinic,
cash
yeah.
only clinic and just, you can't provide all services because it would probably just be her. But there can be some things to where if you can't get in with a doctor, you got a
Oh, it's
laceration you need stitched up or,
right. Oh,
uh,
it's so hard to get it like in your doctor now. Like, um, whether it's like the health center or even urgent care over to Claremont. Our daughter was sick the other day, and we're like, yeah, she really didn't seem to be getting better, so let's go to urgent care. And Andrew went there, and he's like, oh, it's 2.5 hour wait, and it's like she's two, she's not gonna be like, there's no way. And so this would be a great thing. And fair warning, I told Nikki like, hey, because I've been trying to push you guys in this, and you've been trying to push her, and I said, well, if I don't see any progress in a week, I'm going to mention it on the show. So,
there it is.
surprise! You might be in trouble later,
Yeah, I'll
but
be in trouble.
we'll be doing this broadcast in your garden tomorrow. Not by choice either.
It'll be, what do we call it? Friday, gardening on Friday? What were we going to do for Fridays?
Green Day Friday. I don't know.
I don't know. I thought we had something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been one of those weeks.
It
It's been a
has
long
been.
week.
It's been a long week. We had some great interviews, great topics. If you're going off to college, major in something that, number one, you love, and number two,
Yeah, let's actually make a point to that and not just let's
Right.
make this valuable. So you do not have to go to college to be successful.
Right.
I am proof of that, and there's a lot of other people in this town that Josh Stevens is proof of that. Stevens and Son, or K.A. Stevens, excuse me. A lot of people didn't go to school, and I learned everything I learned really through, you could say the hard way, but at the same time, some of the experiences you get running your own business, you cannot get any other way unless you run your own business. So to be successful, figure out what you're good at. And it's tough because, these kids are 17, maybe 18, and we're like, all right, what do you want to do the rest of your life? They don't know. They're kids. I didn't know when I was 20. I didn't know when I was 21, 22. I got lucky. I like stumbled into this job, and it was something I really liked and I was good at, and I kind of went from there. And so I always thought about that. I'm like, man, that's a weird way. Like, I don't know, because at 18, what you think today, and like 2 years from now, you're gonna be like, man, I hate this. I don't want to do this. Now I'm already invested in school, and so I would,
Yeah, even Nikki was asking you how she can get into plumbing school.
right, right.
Like, wait a second, we're still paying off those student loans.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. Like, if you're someone that's kind of a hands-on person, and trade school is the way to go. Plumbers, electricians, all those professions are super, super sought after. The amount of people in those professions is shrinking every day, and I'm telling you, down the road, it's like you think, all right, you're a doctor, you're making a lot of money, and a lot of doctors do make a lot of money, but I'm telling you, it's going to get to the point where you're going to see plumbers, and maybe you can see them now, where plumbers and heating guys, or they can, if you own your own business, you can make more money than a doctor, because it's a service that less and less people want to do. A lot of people want to be doctors, right? And it's a big investment and whatever, but hey, it's not for everyone. We need doctors still. We need mechanics. We need all these things. Just figure out what you're good at, and then try to get into, through the Votech especially. It's such a great opportunity.
Great opportunity at the
There's
CTE.
so many things there they can do. They can try it out. Adriana did the EMT thing. He could have done it and said, hey, this is not for me. Great. And he didn't waste 4 years of school going and doing nursing or something like that when you didn't like it. So it gives you a great opportunity in CTE. They have automotive. They have so many programs there.
Programs.
So really know what you want to do, because,
Yeah, take your time to think about it. Like, you don't have to rush into anything.
no, you don't have to rush in. And just remember, no matter what, hard work
Except
is,
Zeta has to rush because she'll be
pay for those
18.
due.
So I'm old school, out of the house, college or your own apartment.
yeah, your wife keeps wanting to put a bathroom up here, and I know what's going to happen is they're going to try kicking us out of the spot.
Yeah, we'll end up losing our studio. We'll have to actually do it from the garden.
Yeah. Or I'm going to have to rent this spot, and then that's going to spend even more of our money that we don't have.
I know we're already up to matching 205, assuming we don't beat Chief.
So
that's $102.50 each right now.
right.
On top of our entry fee of, was it $15 plus?
Plus
we
the
did
little
it. We
fee.
did the online registration,
Yeah.
so there was a little $2 fee tacked on, but like $17.
It's all for the community.
Not to mention, I got a new. We'll have some. Hopefully, it'll be here in the next week or so. We'll have a new background. Even though I love come and take it, The reflection has been feedback that it's a little distracting for some audience members, so I got us a matte finish, so it shouldn't shine as much.
I got feedback that Chief Wilmot's audio is a little low, but it's we have 2 more mics just like this coming there next week sometime, so that we can fix that and make that a little
Really?
better. Yeah, they said it was a little low. PJ is a little better, but PJ
was leaning
he was
into
leaning
it.
into it. Chief was
Chief
he
was
was
really. He
chilling.
needed to be over here in this chair.
yeah, he was just chilling.
Both
He was
of us
all
should have
like-
been on the side.
He was like trying to push us to the side, you know.
He needs to start his own. So, Chief Wilmot, if you're listening, start your own podcast.
No, join our podcast.
Oh yeah,
Don't
or join
start
our
your own.
podcast. And
I'm spending your money. You're trying to put us out of business.
no, never.
All right, let's talk about HB 1131 House Bill.
Right. So that's at the governor's desk. So it passed the New Hampshire,
House and then
House
the Senate.
and the
Just
Senate.
went through the Senate. Yep.
and so just to be truth in lending here, I'm going to expand this. Oh,
Now you did it.
this is what happens.
So it's really not just apples that you're having issues with.
So just to take the verbiage right out of it, any person claiming to be, well, I don't want to read that part. Basically, what it says is that facial covering policy for schools. The school board of a school district or the chief executive officer of a chartered public school or public academy shall not adopt, enforce, or implement a policy that requires students or members of the public to wear a facial covering for any purpose while on the school's property unless the facial covering is necessary for a specific extracurricular activity or instructional purpose or is required by some other section of the law.
So basically, this bill is to put the power in the parents' hands where it belongs on face coverings and not in the school's hands. Is that correct?
From my understanding is it's back to parents' choice. So if you want your child to wear a mask, they're free to do so, and if
Right.
you don't, then they don't have to.
As
But
should
it
be.
hasn't passed all the way yet. So
Yeah, so
Governor
it ha-
Sununu
but-
still
yeah.
has to sign it.
He has to
but
sign
it's-
off on it.
It's passed the House and the Senate. So if you're for it and you want to encourage Governor Sununu to sign it, contact him. If you're against it, contact him and tell him not to sign it. Just to be fair and balanced. I mean, it still hasn't fully passed. So.
This isn't Fox News. We're not fair and balanced.
Well, I'm not. Well, I like to be. I like to give both
No,
sides.
we
of the
do.
issue.
We do. I mean, we have strong opinions on some things, but at the same time, we want to, present facts the best we can,
Right.
and not because it's funny. We're looking up some of our stories, and you go through search after search, and it's like all this propaganda stuff you got to go through before you finally get to what
Well,
you
even
want to
the
look
fact
up.
checking we were talking about, we were looking up some fact checks earlier, and the fact check might even actually be correct, but if you're analyzing the fact checker, they're giving you data from 2015 to 2019, and then they switch to in 2020, and then they try to apply the 2015 to 2019 to 2020, and those are a 4-year time span versus 1 year. So it's kind of hard. If you're fact checking it, you should just show your math. Like, I believe a good fact check would show the data and show the math, and then there's really no arguing at that point. It's just the data is the data. Now, if you want to influence the policies around that data, that's one thing, but the data is the data. And the fact checkers that we looked at for some stuff we were going to talk about today just didn't really do that.
No, and then it's even back when
Comparing apples and oranges instead of apples to apples.
exactly. And then if you look at like the Facebook fact checkers, which is a complete sham.
Well, I think they admitted that in court.
Yeah. So once they were under oath, they admitted, well, it's actually just our opinion, and then they kind of backed off on some stuff because, well, they weren't real facts; they were propaganda. And it's kind of funny because people are up in arms that Elon Musk is buying Twitter, and then you see all these people coming forward like, oh, it's because he wants to make it free speech, which is
Yeah, I think
protected under the Constitution, and we've got a lot of people that are upset by that. That it's actually letting people talk freely is actually going to hurt free speech, and I'm not no genius, but that doesn't really make sense to me.
No, he looks at Twitter, he said, as being the town square and to allow free speech within the law. Because while we do have the First Amendment that protects free speech, there are some things that you can't say.
Sure.
You can't threaten.
Right.
You can't try to rile up a crowd and start a riot, those kinds of things. So at the end of the day, yes, there are some limits to our free speech but I mean, if you apply it logically and sensibly, it makes sense. I don't want somebody out there trying to rile me up into a frenzy every single, you know what I mean? But now if somebody's out there and I disagree with them, that's not, and it makes me mad and angry, that doesn't mean that they can't be allowed to say that. That just means that whatever they're saying I disagree with, and I shouldn't necessarily be angry about it. What I should do is say, all right, well, I disagree with you because of this, and this. It's just like when we were looking up the fact checks. If somebody disagreed with whatever we agree with and they use that as a fact check, it's kind of hard to argue with it unless you sit there and show them, all right, it's taking data from 4 years, comparing it to 1 year, talking about this year. So it's like none of it is even the same. And so they're, and they may not be manipulating the data. Maybe that's the only data they have, but there was no asterisk that said this is the only data available for this point that we're talking about. What they tried to do is average up 4 years, talk about 2020, and then talk about 2022. There's nothing to mention about 2021. And it's kind of hard. Like, you can't really fact check me if you're taking averages and you don't explain it.
Right.
And so that's why I go back to show me the data. If you're going to find percentages, show me the numbers you're dividing in parentheses. It's not that hard, especially because most everything's online. You got plenty of space.
Right.
Or put it as a footnote. This is how we did our math. Either way, you can do it very easily so that if you're interested in it and you're interested in knowing exactly what the truth is or what the facts are, that's how I would do it if I were to publish an article today. And that's kind of how I was taught to do it in college, which is if you're going to say something, you have to prove it.
And it used to be that way. The media used to be very much, you had to cite sources. And I mean, there's been journalists that have literally been threatened to go to jail because they wouldn't cite their source because it was a confidential thing or whatever. And that's the integrity those people, they had. Is like, well, no, I'd rather go to jail because I believe this strongly in this. And now, I mean, let's face it, mainstream media is nothing but entertainment. I mean, there's hardly anything true in any of it. It's all slanted and
it's hard to find. I don't even watch the news anymore.
No,
I
I
read
don't
articles and go try to find the data that is in the good articles with they'll cite where they get their data from.
Right.
Read that article, and then if they're good, they'll cite theirs. And next thing you know, you're reading for 8 hours on one topic that should have taken you 10 or 15 minutes. But in this day and age, if you want to be fully informed, you have to do that. You can't just listen to what you and I say, because even as we talk about a hot topic, because we all have biases as human beings. So you have to double check our bias, because as much as I want to tell you this is the facts, maybe it's not. Maybe I missed something. Maybe whenever I clicked on the third article, I subconsciously ignored something on there that I didn't want to believe, or that I was like, it doesn't really count. Because it happens. I mean, we're all human. Journalists make mistakes like that. Not all journalists are bad. I mean, some, not all.
Not all.
But most of them you got to find on Substack. They're all self-publishing now. So if you want someone who's not controlled by an editor or whoever owns that company, then you got to go and find those independent journalists that are out there. And I read ones that you would think would be considered liberal slanted, but they do their homework. And I'd rather know the truth. And if I was wrong with a more middle of the road and what they say, and they can show it to me and I can go and look up that data, I'll believe it.
Right.
No, and that's what I base my opinion on. But we got, as a society, so ingrained to trust authority, to trust. Oh, you got a master's degree? Well, then you can speak on this. I mean, that's kind of like what they teach you in college at an undergraduate level. I'm not really allowed to have my own opinion. At the master's level, you can kind of sort of form an opinion, because you're going to take statistics, you're going to do surveys, so you're going to go out and you're going to approach a topic that interests you, and so you get to have somewhat of an opinion. You can analyze the data and compare it to other research that's been done. And then once you become a doctor, you get your doctorate, PhD, then you can pretty much have free space to say whatever you want, because you have proven your own theories, and you've proven to a council of other doctors that you have the research skills to go out and base an opinion, or or form a theory, or actually a hypothesis to a theory. So anyway, it's just different levels of knowledge. And so I always try to teach Zeta that since she was a kid, which is like, hey, really what you're doing right now is you're trying to find what other people in authority have to say about it. So I mean, it's ingrained in us to trust authority, but sometimes authority is not looking out for me and you. They're trying to give everybody free college, even though they majored in underwater basket weaving. To tie it all back.
Right. Or some other thing that.
Yeah. I'm just using something because I don't want to offend anyone who has what I would consider a soft degree. I mean, I had a soft degree, but I was on a scholarship. I studied American politics. I did get a minor in systems engineering, though. So if you have a long queue or a line, I can help you use common sense and math to shorten that process up slightly because it was a minor.
I mean, most things in life are common sense, aren't they? And of course,
They are.
common sense
And that's
isn't-
what systems engineering is common sense. It's like looking at a process and applying common sense in math.
Right.
Just so you can back up your common sense with the mathematics. So you can have the data, like I said. Provide
Right.
the data.
data.
That's what it all boils down to.
It's funny though, because sometimes you're presenting data and you're told that that data is not relevant, and the data they have is the only thing that's relevant. I remember an event like that once. We don't have to discuss that, but so let's talk about something else similar. Is we're going to talk about Bill Gates a little bit, and
What are
you
we
know.
going to talk about, old Bill Gates?
Well, I just want to talk about Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the purchasing of all the farmland since we were
Well, yeah, we talk about that
building
too.
our own. It's, I guess, it's still considered a garden,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's a big garden.
It's a big garden. I wonder, maybe Bill Gates will want to buy a garden and it gets too big.
Well, we only have 18 acres to work with. That'd be a lot of trees to clear.
That's true. But we could
That's a
get,
lot of rocks to move,
well, yeah.
and it's still because the average farm is almost 400 some odd acres. So
Yeah, farms out west are
Yeah.
huge farms. Around here we have more like dairy farms and stuff like that. I was actually up to, I don't know the name of the actual farm, but Jolyon Johnson, who owned Wendell Vet, and then he owns that farm, and then his wife and himself or whatever own the Sanctuary ice cream place, and they had some extra hay, and I was like, oh sweet, I could definitely use some round bales, and it's like a mile from my property, so I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this. It was really cool. Like, I have so much respect for farmers, and it seems like, at least like growing up, it was almost like people looked down upon farmers, right? Like, oh, you're a farmer, like you didn't have the knowledge to do anything else, and I'm like,
farmers
If-
know so much.
if it wasn't
They
for
have
a
to know
farmer,
so
you would
much.
not be alive today, because that's how you eat. Some people really do think that you go to the grocery store and it's like, well, that's where food comes from. Yeah, after they get it from a farm.
So you got the farmers, you got the distribution, you got a lot of people that make it so that we can eat easily every day.
Exactly. So shout out to all the farmers out there that work so hard for us, and
Truck drivers.
truck drivers that are trucking the milk, trucking the
Trains.
produce, all that kind of stuff. And but Bill Gates says this. It's kind of weird. He's buying all these properties out west, and he doesn't believe. He believes in genetically modified food.
Right. So I was reading an article that basically said that he is researching to produce more with less. So basically, more beef from one cow, more tomatoes from one plant. So then we get into genetically modifying.
Which, if you look at a lot of products that are out there now, they'll say GMO. Like chicken's a big one, because they'll pump all these steroids and stuff into chickens, antibiotics, all this stuff it's not good for you. It shouldn't be in your body that the animal eats, and that's why, like, for us, like, we have some beef cows, we have pigs, because I know what those animals eat because I feed them myself, and so they're eating grain, they're eating hay, the stuff they're supposed to. So studies have shown, doctors, all this stuff is, genetically modified food is not good for you. But Gates is this huge person that thinks that genetically modified food is apparently fine for you. Not that he doesn't believe that, we should have cows because they.
Well, some people might not be affected by GMO, but for me personally, 99. I have maybe 4 seed packets in there that are hybrid or not, or that are genetically modified, just because that was the only type that I could find for that particular vegetable or fruit.
Right.
It's genetically modified, but I'm going to keep them separate in my garden. So, in the garden, I'm only using bone meal, and I don't use herbicides. I don't use pesticides. I use neem oil and soap, so it's not, cause, you can't call it an organic garden. You have to come and get somebody to certify that. But for all intents and purposes, I'm keeping as much chemicals and as much genetically modified material as I can out of the garden, just because for me personally, what is it, 79 cents more for a pack of seeds that's non-GMO? Now,
Right,
granted,
yeah,
I
I'm
might
sure.
have more bugs because some of them are modified to prevent certain bugs or certain diseases, but I'm willing to take that risk if I take the time to go out there and water properly and pull bugs off and kill them if I have to, wash them off. Some of them you just wash off with a water hose and it'll get rid of them. So, anyways, me personally, I disagree with Mr. Gates's idea that we need bigger beef, bigger pigs, so then it takes up less space, it produces less pollution. Is his reasoning behind it. So if you look at the reasoning, okay, it's kind of noble. You're trying to improve the environment, but do we actually know what it's doing to us? And why does one person need the most farmland in the country? So like that's another thing that just as a caution flag for me is one person owning and controlling that much farmland. If for some reason there were nefarious things, or if it turns out to be bad for us, then you got a large production facilities that are putting this bad food on our table.
Right. And also Gates. First of all, Bill Gates he invented Microsoft. So he's a computer guy. He's a math guy. He's not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's not a farmer. He's none of those things. But for some reason, feels like he should be able to preach down to us from his elite status. That he just come out with a book, and I guess he was on Comedy Central, which is an interesting place to try to push something as Comedy Central. I
Well,
mean,
it's getting a younger audience.
well, maybe that's it. But basically, wrote a book about how to prevent the next pandemic, and I think it's funny because once again, he's not a scientist, he's not a doctor, and and he's also the one that
He's
you know,
invested a lot of time and energy into it. I'm suspect though. It's philanthropy is good. I mean, we always talk about donating time and food and everything else. He's had some slip ups on stage. That are they slip ups? That's the only thing that concerns me about Bill Gates is
yeah, I mean that, and he
hanging out with Jeffrey. Even his wife in the divorce said uh, part of the reason is I didn't like his relationship with him, and he acknowledged in an article I read that she obviously was more keen to Mr. Epstein's.
yeah, I mean he can say that, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
my
trying to be
opinion
fair
is,
to him from what he said.
you know, my opinion is that everybody knew exactly who Jeffrey Epstein was.
Cindy McCain did say that on stage
Yeah.
that everybody knew, but there was no one in law enforcement that would address it until 2019.
19.
So it was going on it was addressed, I guess, in the early 2000s as well.
Yeah, it
a
was
few
just
years before that, but nothing really happened. And then that's what Elon Musk has been tweeting about lately as well, is because there's a picture that he claims Ghislaine Maxwell is photobombing him,
Right.
that he's not actually at a party with her. But his point was, so Epstein was arrested, she was arrested and found guilty,
Of sex trafficking, and she got 65 years in prison.
and
But
so Elon Musk's response was, so who were they trafficking to, and what happened to them?
right, so it seems if you look at it this way, like if you are accused of a crime, convicted of a crime, which would have been sex trafficking, uh, apparently she trafficked to herself because we haven't seen anyone else go to jail for this. No one else been arrested for this. Obviously, she trafficked to somebody.
It's interesting questions.
It's very
that
interesting,
We probably
isn't it?
need the answers to at some point in time, and I
If-
would think that most of us in America would say yes, they need to be held to account.
Yeah, I would say that Epstein and Bill Clinton's connection, for instance, which is it's very well
It's public knowledge.
it's
That's
very
not-
well public knowledge. And if I was Elon Musk, I would be on Twitter today, be like, just so everyone knows, I am not suicidal.
because he called out. Where's all the
Yeah,
people?
where'd all the pedophiles? Why aren't they going to jail? How come she's going to jail for sex trafficking? Apparently trafficking nobody.
We're gonna have to mark this one not safe for kids.
That's fine.
All right, just so we know. Because all our others are marked safe for kids because we want to try to do a public.
This is
but
still
this is
safe,
kind of
but
this is kind of a heavy topic.
nah, kids don't watch our show.
They might.
That's true. Maybe
You've had influence over
consequences for your actions.
Yes,
that's
if
what
we
we're
were
talking about.
Just consequences for your actions. Be held to account. Be held accountable and be responsible for what you do and don't do. Again, accountability builds trust. You want us to trust, acknowledge your mistakes, acknowledge where there's faults, hold them to account, hold yourself to account, and then we can build trust again from there. Like Chief said yesterday, Americans love an apology. Like, we'll take an apology. I don't know if he said that on air or not, but
I know
we were talking about it. But he was like, it's interesting that Americans will take an apology. We're very forgiving as a country. And now, I won't take an apology for sex trafficking.
No.
Like that, you're
No,
gonna
I'll
have to pay
take a
some
needle
time
in their
for that.
arm.
Well, you're gonna spend some time, or worse,
hanging from a tree.
Well, we'll let the judge and jury decide that, but they need to be put before a judge and a jury, and whatever the consequences for their crimes are, be held to account. And when it comes to kids, I agree with you. The book should be thrown at you.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Protect our kids.
I'm sick of the double standard in this country. That it's not a legal double standard. It's just a double standard that people with means aren't held to the same standard that me, you, and everyone else in this town are held to. And I was always brought up that, if you do something wrong, you have to pay for that, whatever it is. It's, you cheat on a test and you get in trouble, or you speed or drink and drive or whatever you do, there's consequences. But it seems that for some people there are not consequences. And we've seen this very clear over the last few years at high levels of our country, government, whatever. And
yeah, there are a lot of questionable things that are disheartening, quite frankly, because I feel like if it were me, I would be held to account almost immediately.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so many times I'll watch usually I see something on Facebook, a story, because I don't
it's kind of like
news.
people say it's a straw man argument or some type of fallacy, but I talk to Zeta about it all the time because her punishment is probably going to seem more severe than a kid who doesn't really care about class, is sitting there on the phone the whole entire time. But if she acts up or does something wrong, she'll probably get detention, and then she'll get, like she'll get an earful from me and mom about, at the very least, she'll get an earful.
Right, because us as parents are holding our kids to a higher standard.
Right, to the standard. Or,
right, higher than the standard, honestly.
Right.
Like I think,
but at the minimum, just
yes.
if the rules are don't be on your phone,
right,
don't talk back, then don't do it.
It's funny because I tell the kids too, and because we'll already say like school is the best years of your life, and I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a fair statement. I think school is probably the easiest time of your life because you don't have the responsibility of bills and kids, and but I don't want to think. I just don't think it's the best time of your life because for some people, if you said that and like they're like, school is miserable. Is this as good as it's going to get? No, that's not. So I don't like that. It's just.
I think youth is probably the best, like you said, because
the
responsibility that you. And we've talked about it before. Some kids have a lot more responsibility on them at the age of who knows what.
12, 13 years old. Yeah,
at least.
No,
my granny was picking cotton to help provide for her family back in the olden days.
We've kind of lost that. If I look back at my grandfather, who actually used to bring me to the farm to get milk, and I'm so thankful for that experience now. Like I look back at some of those things, I'm like, man, I'm so thankful that I got to do that. Right up to Johnson's farm there, and it's pretty crazy like to think back. But my grandfather he was born 19. I know I'm gonna get this wrong, but it was like 1917. He died back in early 2000. He was like 84. He worked to like outside in the garden. He had a garden. I don't know. We were talking about this the other day. It's pretty close to the size of one we got going out there. And like that's what they did. They didn't have much money, but they worked really hard in the garden, and that's how they did things. And just the way he was brought up, and my dad, and then even myself, like we've gotten to expect things just to be so easy for us, right? Like everything's easy.
Yeah,
it's like it's not easy. You have to work hard, and there's nothing that you can't do if you don't set your mind to it and work really hard for it. I feel like set these kids up to fail sometimes. It's like, well, it'll come to you. Or, no, you're not entitled to anything.
Right.
You're entitled to equal opportunities and that is it. There's no guaranteed equal success. I was in school, I was like bottom of my class, but that was a choice I made. I didn't put the effort in that you put into when you went to school. Just wasn't my thing. And then I got into like a more hands-on job. I had a sewer and drain business. Like that was just me, you know. And now I look at it and I would be like, yeah, and I guarantee I'm like the top of the success of my class now based on what I've accomplished. And, you know, it wasn't where I started, but it's because I worked really hard. And, you know, for some of you kids out there that are like, hey, you know, school's just tough. Like, okay, I understand that. Do your best to get through it because you need the education. You need to know
Yeah,
how
you
to.
need a common
You need
way
to have
to
a
communicate with everybody
absolutely,
else. You got to be
you
able
know,
to solve basic problems on your own.
you need those things. That's very important. But just remember, whatever you do, you can do anything if you set your mind to
Yeah,
it.
just put your mind to it. Don't let anybody ever tell you you can't
No.
do something.
I mean,
I know even when I was a librarian, I was the long-term sub at the library.
yeah,
A lot of kids, when we did like a career exploration, a lot of them wanted to be YouTubers, and I was like, what we're doing right now. And I wouldn't say you're not, you know, you can do it, but don't expect to automatically be at the top.
I've had
you know,
these.
like
I've
there
had
are some great entertaining people. Let's Dig 18 with his, you know, his yard work that he does. Well, he does more than yard work, but is the excavator business. You know, that it doesn't come easy. So I wouldn't try to discourage them from it, but you got to have a plan. So if you're going to do it, what are you going to talk about? How are you going to keep it fresh every day? All these things. So I wasn't trying to tell them that they couldn't do it, but that if they're going to do it, it's not as easy as putting the camera on, talking, and then a million people subscribe and follow you and find you entertaining.
I've had these conversations with the kids before, and it was a couple years ago, and it was so frustrating because they're like, "I'm going to be a YouTube star," and I'm like, or, you know, I'm going to have a YouTube channel and blah blah blah, and we've got a YouTube channel, and we've got like I think 40 subscribers at this point, and this is our 5th show and all that cool stuff, and but you look around at how many thousands of dollars are sitting here to do the show in general, and the kids are like, "Oh," and I'm like, you realize all these YouTube stars, these kids that are making all this money on YouTube, they're rich. Their parents are rich. They have $1 million houses. They have these swimming pools. They have all this stuff, and their kids are like, "Oh yeah," but I'm like, or I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm like, every one of these names you hear, they're just a blip on a screen. They're gonna make a little money for maybe a year, and then they're gonna be back in poverty because they're gonna.
Don't get me started on that because I feel like everything's auto-tuned, so any of us could be a rapper these days.
But the kids are like,
oh, I probably couldn't. I have no music.
But it's like, yeah, I'm going to be a YouTube star. I'm like, they're already rich. These kids are rich. Yeah, they're selling their products. Yeah, but they are rich. That's how they got to where
right.
They're already rich.
We're fortunate enough that we
yes.
can spend a little money on this equipment.
Right.
Like this is a hobby, and we're trying to do it as a public service to
Right.
generate conversations and get people out to experience the town to see that, you know, if you go to a meeting at the selectmen or the school board and all you hear is negativity, well, it's not all negative. There are great things going on. Like we already mentioned, Ms. Colson, Mr. Spanos, and we've been trying to highlight the positive things because it seems like when we do go to participate, not just at the school board, but also at the town selectmen meeting, it's usually something negative because it's the most important thing for them and they don't have time to come in and say thank you all the time. And so what we're trying to do is to say thank you, not to become rich. It ain't working after 5 days anyway. Keep putting us more and more in the hole. Hopefully we get some more donations for the 5K, by the way.
And some more sponsors for the show. Yeah, no, it's
Thank
funny.
you, Twin State Paving.
Yes, thank you, Twin State Paving. We haven't even mentioned you today. We're horrible at this.
Well, the show opens with presented by.
It does, and you have it on your computer, which is very smart. So that way, if we do forget, it's always there. I'm still kind of convinced my brother to step up and do the same thing that Twin State's doing, and I'll get there. So then maybe we can not be as in the red as much. But so yeah, if you guys have Tim and Steve Show NH at Gmail to get hold of us. Also, last night I got our Facebook page up. So Tim and Steve Show. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our channel. Please leave feedback. I mean, please leave positive feedback.
No negative feedback, no.
No.
Let us know because we're going to talk about things. And
we're trying to get more people in here.
Yeah.
I got to message him, but I'm going to try to get Jimmy Burrows in here to do like a gun safety kind of thing, like because that's just perfect for what he does for work and at Pinnacle and everything. We want to get Shannon in here from the chamber, trying to see if we can get.
Yeah, because I want to ask her if she was ever really on a cruise ship, because I don't know if you saw it, but she performed at the Dancing with the Stars,
She,
and Nikki leaned over to me and she was like, she would be perfect for this on a real cruise. I mean, she was like nonstop, like
it's
as part of the
so
routine
crazy
or whatever, but it
So
was very impressive.
I've known Shannon probably close to 20 years, and I've seen her hundreds of times. I've never ever in my whole life ever seen her not smiling. Like she'd be like, "Whew, I'm tired, a lot going on," but Ari's huge smile, huge energy. She's
So perfect coordinator for the chamber.
perfect for the chamber.
I mean, she was
like,
perfect for the because they were pretending they were on a
Dance with
cruise
Sta-
ship,
yeah,
and,
like-
and she was doing a class, and it was almost like she was maybe she's taught exercise classes too or something.
She has,
but
yeah.
I mean, it was like it was so seamless, and I had no idea that she was there as the PR part of the PR for.
When we get her on the show, which we will get her eventually, we're going to ask her that question, like, how do you stay so positive and cheery? Because if there's a secret, we all need
We
the
all
secret.
need it.
Because I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, all right, we got to do this day. I'm telling you, I've never seen her not smiling. It's crazy.
That's awesome to have that kind of positivity all the time.
It is. It's
Especially
inspiring.
from your perspective, anyway.
Right.
But when the times that I've seen her, exactly the same thing. Positive,
Yeah.
smile, upbeat. It's good to have in the community.
She's
It's
definitely
perfect.
she's a
be
perfect replacement for when Ella retired at like 90 years old. Ella Casey's a rock star around here, and then when they said that Shannon was jumping in that, I was like, wow, I can't think of anybody that would be better at that job. So, which is great for our town. Like it's
Right.
all about our town, right? And it comes back to that. And so yes, 5K this weekend. What a recap. So cruise night, Car Nuts cruise, 6:00 behind the Sugar River Bank in that parking lot
on May 9th.
on May 9th. Yeah, so this
Monday.
Monday. We'll be there provided we're not in like a hospital bed or something from our running experience.
Check out Blackbeard's Cove Mini Golf or the
Yes.
escape rooms, or go have dinner.
Yeah, you have to check out. You have to
Granted,
check
it's
out.
not in Newport, but it's still
It's Claremont. It's still our community. It's still our community. Yeah, no, we're based. Newport's like we want to talk about Newport, right? A lot of stuff we talk about is Newport, but we're definitely going to talk about a lot of stuff outside of Newport, especially if it's Claremont or Sunapee or it's kind of close by, because that's like we're a big community. You know, it's always funny. I go to games over in Claremont, and it's all this like rivalry stuff between Newport and Claremont. I'm like, I don't even look at it that way. I'm like, if anything, like if it all came crashing down, I feel like Newport and Claremont like would blend right together. I'm like, all right, how do we fix this? Because this is the community we got. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, it's a small business, and we're all about support your local businesses. They're the ones that put so much back into our community.
Yeah,
Big
we were
box
talking
stores.
about that yesterday, making
we
sure
were.
we try to buy from all the local stores.
Yeah, because honestly,
I'd like cringe when we have to go online and order something because it's just there's nowhere around.
the
it for
big
certain
the big
things.
box stores, and I won't throw the names out, but in Claremont there's a couple big ones, and they don't do anything for your community, nothing. But your local places like La Valleys, like the pizza places, like all the local businesses, Harrington's and K. Stevens, United Construction, Carroll Concrete, all these people, and I've missed so many. They give back to our community huge, huge amounts. Most people don't even know, especially if you don't have kids in school, because a lot of it is they're giving back to the kids, whether it be a sporting thing or there was a sponsor actually on the Library Arts Center, the Kids Art Show was like Harrington's and somebody else. And these companies are constantly giving back to our community. So we need to do our part and support them the best we can. And also remember that, if you're ordering something and it's a couple bucks cheaper to go over to a big box store, but remember that this place here in Newport or in your local community is putting
Gives
money
back
back
a lot
in.
of time.
Absolutely. So I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Tomorrow is Friday.
Farming Fridays. That's what
Farming
it's supposed to be.
Fridays. All right. Well, tomorrow you have to come up with a segment about farming that we can talk about, that we can keep and make it interesting too.
All right, sounds good.
I don't know how we'll keep it interesting, but we'll do our best.
I'll bring in my seedlings and show them all. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. There's a lot of seedlings I got going.
You do.
Trying to start it ahead because last year my peppers all were producing right as the frost came. So I'm trying to get
ahead of the
6-8 weeks ahead of when I put them out last year. So
And the weather looks great for next week.
it does. How's it the week
Knock on
after?
wood. I don't know, but come on, they can't predict weather. Like Bailey can predict it for this afternoon.
That's true.
We just hope and pray when we see good weather. We're like, it's gonna be nice. Like I'm seeing 70s and maybe 80 next week. So that could have all changed in the hour we've been on the show
That's
today.
true.
But let's hope and finally gonna get some good weather. Get out, enjoy it outside. The sunlight and being outside is probably the best health thing for you. And we're gonna have to do a crash diet. We got 2 days to get ready for this 5K.
I'm about ready. I think I'm as ready as I'm going to be. I'm going to stretch
That's true.
out. I'm going to make sure I got my shoes fit properly. I got some good walking / jogging shoes.
I gotta be honest. I went to McDonald's this morning. I only go to McDonald's for breakfast if I ever go. I just don't like eating that kind of food. And
So you did not go to the local business?
where would I locally get a sausage McMuffin?
Well, we went to, it's New London. I don't know if you count New London as a local.
I don't want to go to New London. But anyways, the point of my story is,
He's like, thanks,
yes,
jerk.
yes. The point of my story was it was funny because someone that works there that I know says to me, she's like, this food's not good for you. And I'm like, I know, and I'm doing a 5K in 2 days. I'm just trying to help the chief out just in case. Maybe he's got some lag over from
He probably has
the marathon.
He's got some weak legs. Maybe we're hoping.
We're screwed. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave some feedback. Like our Facebook page. Subscribe to our channel. We promise we'll have some more exciting shows coming up as well.
Support Twin State Paving, our great sponsor.
Yes, support them. Once again, thanks to Ed Gregory over to Hometown Appliances, and he's got sheds. He's got all those good things. $50 towards our walk, and then thanks to Corey Beard Sewer and Drain for $50 for our walk. So we're at 205. Hopefully tomorrow we can have a little more we can add into that, and then it's going to be race day.
Don't forget, send us a message if you want us to talk about something, or if we're talking about something too much, let us know as well.
And if you think we're just terrible, you could just pay us not to do the show.
Or provide us with some constructive feedback. But again, we understand a lot of times it'll be the reflections off of this, me shaking my head. There's some good negative feedback that I've gotten, or some improvements that we can do.
I have some negative feedback from myself to the show.
What's that?
So if you've noticed the last couple days on the YouTube clip, so when it goes on YouTube, and then it'll say, episode whatever, and then there's a little like thumbnail, you can see the picture. I have a goofy face in like 3 out of the 4. And it just randomly picks this thing, and I'm like, Steve's there looking all normal, and I'm all there like, weird faces. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I try not to make any facial movements because of my paralysis. So
Wait until you see the Facebook